Something is coming. Something hungry for blood. A shadow grows on the wall behind. That sound. Boom. Boom. I came for something else.
Protection.
The Demogorgon is tired of your silly human bickering. It stops working. Fireball! That sound. Boom. Boom. That didn't come from chocolate bites. No, that came from something else. That sound. Boom.
I'm Stargate Pioneer from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
PopXcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
By the power of Grayskull, Autobots, transform! Excelsior!
All right, and welcome everyone. We are live right here. This is PopXcast, episode number 31, coming to you right here. Today is September the 4th, 2016, and joining me here, I have the entire arsenal of Team PopX. What's going on, my friends? How are you all doing today?
Doing great.
We're fantastic, Joe. Fantastic.
Look at wait a minute. Before we get started, Mike, can you show us what that is on your shirt there? I saw this. Oh.
It's 11.
It's L.
Dude.
Seriously, that is like epic
I need
sauce.
it.
Oh, shut up. Take my money. Take it all. Take it. That is awesome, man. Well, as you can tell, we are all excited, super excited to be able to share one of our most beloved summer hits from Netflix, Stranger Things. But before we do that, we're going to get right on into this. Welcome, everyone. We want to thank you so much for viewing our live stream right here on PopXcast, and it's on popx.live. And welcome. This is where science fiction meets pop culture. I'm your host, Central Florida's seasoned comic book nerd and retro enthusiast. We'd like to welcome everyone joining us live right here on PopX.live and Geeks.live. Come on and hang out with us, join the conversation, and for all things, be sure to check out our website at PopXcast.
And I am Austin Burke, your Appalachian geek at heart. Hey, if you guys missed last week's episode 30, The History of Comics Part 3, The Dark Ages, check out our official website at popxcast.com. Be sure to head over now to Google Play and or iTunes. Click that subscribe button to catch up. While you're there, leave us a glowing and wonderful 5-star rating and review. We certainly appreciate it. What's up, crew? How are you guys?
Well,
What's going on? Fantastic.
well, Lindsay is channeling her inner Miss Boyer.
Yes.
Look at that. She's
I'm
got
keeping an eye out for all of the nasty monsters that are in the.
He'll show up.
the Demogorgons, right? You're looking
yeah.
at
Yeah.
Hopefully, there's no Demogorgons in Oklahoma.
I hope not.
I hope not either.
Now I'm scared.
So,
Now
so
I'm
Mike, what are you doing to channel your inner Demogorgon?
Well, I got my favorite Stranger Things shirt on. So
Okay, so you're using that. You're channeling your inner vibe with that this morning. Okay,
That's right.
I see what you're doing. All right, well, ladies and gents, we're going to head right on into the news and just stick around because Stranger Things topic is going to be heading up. But this week, this is the news right here on PopXcast.
Extra, remember, this is PopX News, coming to you live, right here on PopXcast.com.
All right, on August 29th, comedy icon, and this is one of the sad ones. Of course, we do lead off with the sad stuff, and we kind of bring everybody in for the more joyful stuff towards the end. But an iconic legend passed away this week. Gene Wilder passed away at a wonderful age of 83. He was an amazing comedian known for his many roles in Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and of course his most iconic role as Willy Wonka in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He was a longtime friend and director of Mel Brooks, and they took to Twitter, and Mel Brooks actually, it says Gene Wilder was one of the truly great talents of our time. He blessed every film we did with his magic, and he blessed me with his friendship. And that's coming from a fellow comedian icon, Mr. Mel Brooks himself. But Gene will be missed. I was actually inspired this past week to do an inspirational piece about Gene. I actually did draw a portrait of Gene Wilder, and it's just, I remember the first time I saw him was in Young Frankenstein, but the big iconic role I saw him was evidently was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So there were definitely some sad news leading us off in the top end there.
It's terrible because, like we've said, week after week after week on this podcast, 2016 is taking so many icons. And what bigger of an icon in the comedy world than Gene Wilder? I mean, one of the greatest. And like everybody says, roles after roles after roles. But what do most people know him for? Willy Wonka. He will always be Willy Wonka. And nobody, not even Johnny Depp, can change that.
No.
True.
That's for sure.
That's
But let's move on to something else that happened this week. Marvel celebrated the entire week in honor and recognition of one of their great pioneer creators and innovators, Mr. Jack Kirby. Kirby would have been 99, and Marvel honored him by doing a different news story each day for an entire week, focusing on the iconic characters that he created: Black Panther, Silver Surfer, the Incredible Hulk, the Mighty Thor, Captain America, and the Fantastic Four, among many others. Follow the link in this week's show description on YouTube for more great Jack Kirby info. But this was pretty awesome what Marvel did, don't you think?
I think it was really great because Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, when they originally purchased Marvel, it was called Timely Comics in that day.
Yeah.
When they originally took ownership of the franchise and rebranded it into Marvel Comics, Jack Kirby came over, and him and Stan Lee single-handedly rebranded the entire franchise as we know it today. And truly a legend. When a lot of people give Stan Lee a lot of the credit for it, but it was equally part of the credit with Mr. Jack Kirby. So he was a huge, huge influence on many, many people. And it's definitely pretty awesome that Marvel did what they did to honor him. And I think that's pretty awesome.
It is awesome, for sure.
Yeah. But see, we're moving on with the news here. Ben Affleck reveals that Deathstroke will be making an appearance in Justice League movie, and this will be the main villain in the Batman solo film. Now, this is the first time that cinematically we have seen Deathstroke. Austin, what is your take on this?
Oh my goodness, man. When I went to Ben Affleck's Twitter page this week and saw that beautiful video of what we all thought could have been fake until we realized, oh my goodness, this is Ben Affleck's official Twitter page. Guys, we're getting Deathstroke. But here's my question, Joseph. Who is playing Deathstroke? Because somebody is behind that mask.
It's not Will Smith.
It's not.
It's not Will Smith.
Nice. Nice. So, I don't know. Well, we do know. What we do know is that Deathstroke will be a part of the new Justice League film as well. So could him being in Justice League coming out next year be a precursor to him leading up to this single Batman movie? Think about it. Think about it. Because they're kind of, you know how they tease, you know how these companies tease like characters and stuff. So
they love to tease. They like to tease us, Joe. They're all about teasing us.
Well,
but let's move on. Let's move on to something else that's awesome this week. News came out that Terminator. Oh Lord, Terminator 2.
Do it in your voice. No, do it in the voice. Do it in the voice.
Terminator 2 3D was announced in 2017. Upon its release, T2 was the most expensive movie ever made at $102 million, $180 million adjusted for inflation, and paved the way for computer generated imagery with the CG enhanced liquid metal T1000. The film grossed nearly $520 million at the worldwide box office, won 4 technical Oscars, and was followed by 3 sequels. T2 being re-released. Lord.
Slap me silly and just butter my biscuits.
Telling you what.
Telling you right now. Oh, sweet Jesus in the morning. It's getting hot up in here.
Awesome, though. This dude's pretty cool.
I have no idea what we're doing. We just totally we should do the rest of the news as Herbert the Pervert. And now, yes, I want some popsicles. Anyway, so, what do you think? Are you going to go see Terminator 2 3D, Austin?
You know what? If I have the time, I'm going to go see it. This is exciting news because to me, Terminator 2 is one of the greatest action movies ever made. To see it in 3D could be cool. I mean, I'm probably going to go see it if I have time.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be epic, and I hope he doesn't prank around with it too much like George Lucas did with Star Wars. But I'm just saying,
please don't change it.
Yeah, just leave it. Leave the icon, and let it be.
Yes.
But moving on to the news, Mad Hatter, aka Jarvis Touch, will be making his debut in Fox's Gotham season, season 3. So that's Jarvis Touch. Yes. I said Jarvis Touch. That's because I was thinking, yes, Jarvis, yes, yes, Mr. Stark. Anyway,
dude, this is cool because, dude, Gotham. What do they do? They're bringing out all of the villains, like not just the main Batman villains. They're bringing out the whole entire group.
Dude,
and this is exciting. I like
they're rolling with all the punches, and I think, I think it's great. They're doing the backstory the way it is, and they recently did cast as well. I think it's later in the news, or I remember seeing it that they cast Alice too, which is going to be Mad Hatter's companion. So
that could be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really crazy. But,
it'll be weird, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Moving on, Doctor Who companion and Guardians of the Galaxy's Nebula, Karen Gillan, will be joining the cast of Jumanji. Joe, have you seen this Jumanji cast, man? It's pretty daggone good. You have The Rock, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, and now Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy.
The Rock is slowly becoming like a Will Smith. I mean, you've seen him everywhere.
He's all over the place.
He's
cloned.
I think you
For
said,
sure. I stand by
that. You said that the last podcast, and I think honestly there's some validity to it. I think he has a twin brother that's out there somewhere. That
the Stone.
The
Stone.
The Stoner. Yes.
Yep.
The Rock and the Stone.
Rock and the Stone.
Just call me Pebble, okay? But moving on here, Warcraft 2 may be in the works, but it won't be seeing its it won't be seeing it in the United States release. The movie was tanked in the U.S., making only 47 mil, but skyrocketed in the European and China markets, ranking in over 157 million in China alone. Since China has the largest player market for the original game, it may not be a bad move for the franchise to bring it only to their cinematic screens over there. So, we were talking about at PopX at one point doing a Warcraft themed, and I wasn't feeling it. I just couldn't do it. And the reviews, and I saw bits and pieces of the movie, and I'm just like, oh man, I don't know. I can't get behind that. So
this movie bombed in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely bombed. Thank God for China, because that's where it made its money. Seriously, that's where it made its money. Okay, was China. I mean, this thing was a big fat turd. That's what it was.
Wow.
And I don't see it getting a sequel. I don't know where they're going to go from here, because it was critically panned. But hey, China, you saved it. You should be.
So if there's nothing you've learned from this podcast, is thank God for China, because you saved a fat turd.
Tell us how you really feel, Austin. I don't think let it rip.
I don't think he's. He's very passionate tonight. I noticed that. And he's got a fire in his pants. I like it.
Love the fire.
Yeah.
Passion, people. All right, let's move on. No Man's Sky, which was supposed to be the most hyped up game of all time, is not living up to expectations. Since its release on August 12th, the game has been riddled with game-crashing bugs. The game has been patched but is still unstable like me, and now players are wanting refunds. Most large retailers have been issuing refunds. This news, oh man, this is terrible.
That's brutal.
Take that for your 18 trillion planets that doesn't even work. Yeah.
I feel like they should be giving out a free roll of duct tape with every purchase or something.
Maybe duct tape with Deadpool's face on it or something.
Yes.
Yes, I like
Sorry, your game sucked, but here's some awesome Deadpool duct tape. Go
Deadpool duct tape for the win.
duct tape up those man gashes coming in you. Well, I mean, I didn't play the game. I personally haven't played the game. I didn't intend to play the game. Usually when these kind of games come out, I don't play it right off the bat. Typically, there's a lot of bugs, and so I don't ever play the game. The only game franchise I play, like the day it comes out, is usually typically fighting games like Battlefield or Call of Duty or something like that. But these type of massive world, interstellar, dimensional games, no, I don't play them right off the bat. They're just too daggone buggy.
It's too much for me. It's just too much.
It is too much. Well, Netflix officially announces season 2 of Stranger Things.
Thank God.
As nerds around the world this summer has rejoiced around season 1, the 9-part season 2 will air in 2017. Not only did they give us a hint that it's coming, they gave us the entire list of each 9 episodes and some throwdowns of what's going to happen in each episode. They're just
my heart.
I know.
My heart's
I
happy.
can't take it.
It's so happy.
It's a great time to be a nerd, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's a good time to be alive, dude.
I'm so excited. I think
Stranger Things season 2.
Yeah.
I want to watch it like yesterday, and they're gonna have to make us wait till next year.
2017.
But you can be old by. But you can always relive 11 and the Demogorgon right now. You can go back and watch it over and over again and enjoy that amazing.
I've already watched it twice.
Yeah.
Watched it twice. Amazing.
So freaking good.
Hey, let's move on from one great show to another. In DC's Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, the promo trailer, we catch a quick glimpse of Stargirl and also Reverse Flash. What? Reverse Flash and Stargirl? She looks pretty good, doesn't she?
Look at that. Yeah, throwing it down there.
Stargirl.
She's
got stars on her.
Has finally made her cinematic debut. I love this. I love what DC's doing and kind of bringing all these loved. Look at that. Look at the. Ooh. Now I wonder who's playing Reverse Flash there. Is that Eobard Thawne from the Flash series, or is that a different Reverse Flash?
Ooh,
kind of looks like Barry Allen.
A little bit.
Look at the face. Look
Holy
at the
cow.
nose. It kind of looks like Grant a little bit.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know. They only played it so quick that you only get just to see like a split second, so you can't really tell who it is. I don't know. I don't have any. I'm just talking out loud. So if you're watching our good friends over on our fellow network of the Crimson Comic or the Starling Tribune, maybe you can reach out to us and validate if you know whether or not who's playing the Reverse Flash in DC's Legends. Mm-hmm. Moving on with the news, and we only got 2 more segments, and then we're going to dive right on into this week's main topic. Marvel reveals the banner for X-Men Inhumans Resurrection. Not much is known at this point, except it takes place after the death of X and the Inhumans versus X-Men. More information may be released at the New York Comic-Con. Issue number 0 should be coming on November the 16th. And Resurrection is going to be a brand new comic book series. It's going to be kind of leading the way, as we know, kind of paving the way, new storylines, new endeavors, new embarkations, and who knows, maybe we'll see this come out on the cinematic at some point as well. We know what they're doing now with the Wolverine series, so yeah, awesome.
That's awesome move. From Marvel Comics to Marvel Comics, they revealed the name of their MU project called Monsters Unleashed. This is cool. The project will presumably feature classic monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the werewolf, along with Marvel creatures like Man-Thing, who adorned the pages of the original Monsters Unleashed, and a black and white horror magazine from the 70s. Look for the release to be coming in January of 2017. This seems like it could be something really cool.
See, this really excites me because this is part of that thing we just talked about last week in the History of Comics Part 3, where there was the horror genre, the romance genre, the Western genre. This is a throwback to that old era when Marvel Comics used to write about the Dracula and the mummy and the werewolf and all that crazy stuff. And they even invented their own horror icon called the Man-Thing, which was competing with DC Comics' Swamp Thing. So think about it. Yeah. Well, who would win, Swamp Thing or Man-Thing, Austin?
Ooh, I'm going to go Swamp Thing because I don't like swamps.
I like Swampy, too. Yeah.
Swampy for the win.
Swampy for the win.
He's got a cool song.
He does have a cool song.
Yeah, he does.
He does. But that is the end of our news, ladies and gents. We're going to roll right on into our Stranger Things. Now, if you are listening to this podcast and you have yet to see or have fully caught up on Stranger Things, well, now would be your chance to probably pause the podcast, go finish up, and then... Yeah. But we're going to roll the spoiler alert, and we will be right back.
Danger. You are about to enter a PopX spoiler alert. Beyond this point, there is no return. You have been warned.
Alrighty, so Stranger Things, it's season 1. Oh my gosh. I remember watching the first episode, and I had a moment after watching the first episode. I was just sitting there with the remote in my hand. I was just like, what the heck did I just watch? That was so cool. There were so many questions, so many things unanswered, but it was so cool at the same time. And so I want to, maybe before we get into this, what was your take on it? When you first watched that first episode, how did it impact you, and how did you get hooked on it? And Mike, you want to share a little bit?
It was just, I really enjoyed it from minute one. It was just, for me, it's got a special place because it's an 80s throwback for me. I mean, they basically took, all different genres from the 80s of some of the favorite movies, and they, just crammed it into the matter of 8 episodes.
Yeah.
But just to have that throwback is what got me right away, and then just the whole story, the characters, and I just wanted to keep watching it.
Who first told you about Stranger Things?
I believe you did.
That's right. I did. Yeah, darn Skippy. Lindsay Badger.
I know. Well, Joe, you sent me a message on Facebook, and you were like, you have to watch this. There's so much retro pop culture geekness that you have to at least just check it out. And so I did. I went on Netflix and I watched it, and I pretty much had the similar reaction to you. I was just like, oh my God, there's so much awesomeness shoved in one episode. How in the world can this get any better other than to solve some of the questions that carried through the entire series and still at the very end left you with still so many questions that left unanswered, and it was so exciting. I loved the clothes. I loved the references, the hairstyles, the even down to the olive green Tupperware dish that the sheriff was carrying around one day.
Yeah.
I loved all of it. It was so good.
It was good. Austin Burke.
What's the name of this show, Joe?
It's called PopX.
It's PopXcast. What show that has ever come out is more suiting for PopXcast than a show that is consistently referencing pop culture?
I know.
That was by far my favorite thing about Stranger Things.
Yeah.
The references and just the, like Mike said, the 80s throwback. It combined every element that we love about movies and television shows from the 80s and the 90s and gave us a show that we want to see more of, a show that is now one of my favorite television shows, not just of this year, not just on Netflix, of all time. I respond to these characters. I love these characters for the most part, the ones that are still alive. But Stranger Things to me is something that is not just changing Netflix, it is changing television. And you're going to see a lot of ripoffs. You're going to see a lot of things that do it well, a lot of things that don't do it well. But Stranger Things, they didn't do it first, but they did it
best,
arguably the best.
They
that is my
right.
thoughts. I mean, absolutely,
yeah. And
for sure.
in Austin, just to kind of add on to that, the nostalgia and the mental thought that went into the prep work to create each shot, because when they were drinking soda, they wasn't just drinking soda from cans of the 90s. They were drinking soda from the old pull top ones, the slender can. I mean, these are cans I remember growing up as a child in like 1982, 83 before they actually went to the pop top style. So it was so cool to see all this retro, just the thought that went into just the house, the orange countertops in the kitchen. Oh my God, that's like right out of the 80s. I mean, it felt like you were in the same time zone as E.T. and the Goonies. And Misery, and gosh, just all of this stuff. Wow. What an amazing show. And we could literally just end it right there, but we're not going to. We're going to continue on. So there's so many pop culture references in Stranger Things. And before we actually dive into each episode, we're going to kind of unpack a little bit of things that are some of the, as we call, some of the pop culture 80s retro-y things. And you know, there's a lot of things that's going on here that you should probably know about. And right on the top of the list, one of the major pop culture influences in this show is definitely the influence of Stephen King. Now, it's not just the actual opening credits that have a strong whiff of Stephen King. It's the series is just literally littered with references to the legendary author, something that co-creator Matt Duffer has been very open about. And he told Wall Street Journal, quote unquote, the books of Stephen King were a big inspiration. It was one of those films and the books were such a big part of our childhoods. We made these stories so great, and connected with all of them was that they explored the point where the ordinary meets the extraordinary, end quote. And it didn't go unnoticed by the main man himself. And he even took on Twitter and he was saying this is from Stephen King himself. Watching Stranger Things is like watching Stephen King's greatest hits. And I mean that in a good way, end quote, at Stephen King. Is that not
that's like the greatest compliment you could get?
Holy cow.
Oh my gosh.
The creator of horror as we know it today. We had the Vincent Price, the Ray Bradburys, and now in our generation we have the Stephen Kings. And just to be honored in that way, I get chill bumps. It's awesome. It's so good. Good time to be a nerd. And so, Mike, what are you going to tell us about some of this synthy stuff here?
The synthwave heavy score. Texas-based band Survive use retro tech like analog synthesizers to create the show's trademark dark, atmospheric electronic score, which owes more than a few nods to the likes of 80s artists Kraftwerk, Vangelis, Georgia Moroder, and New Order.
No, man. New Order.
I love New Order. Oh my gosh.
Amazing. How does it feel? No, but So that was another thing that caught me was when the credits rolled and you hear that that heartbeat sound of the synthesizer. I'm like, oh, I was like, shut the front door. What is this music? This is glorious to my ears. I just wanted to loop that 1 minute forever. And it was so awesome. I love this. And here's a little tidbit. The score has been released in 2 parts, 2 volumes, and it's first streamable right now on iTunes and on Spotify.
And Spotify. And they also have not just the score, but they also have all of the main 80s songs that they played in there too.
The secondary songs, yeah.
Oh, I've been geeking out to it all week long. It's amazing.
It is a beautiful score, and definitely check it out because the band Survive. I didn't know anything about them, and I looked them up on Spotify. Their other stuff that they've released prior to this work is truly amazing as well. So definitely add those to your playlist and enjoy their band, okay?
Yep.
Awesome.
Got like old 80s, like the old Tron style music out of it too.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like Tron meets New Order meets Vangelis, Tangerine Dream. I don't know. It's everything, and I love it.
Definitely takes you back to where you're supposed to be in this whole show. So it's
and I want more of it. I want more of it. Really, I want more music from them.
Hey guys, you guys want to talk about my friend Steve?
Sure.
Steven Spielberg, that is. He's my boy. He's everywhere in this show, guys.
He is.
From E.T., kids on the bikes escaping government agents, to The Goonies, a group of misfit friends. The legendary filmmaker was obviously a huge influence on the show's creators. The Duffer Brothers, guys, Steven Spielberg is one of my favorites, and I think it's obvious that it is one of these guys' favorites as well, because the references are just so abundant, and every single episode has a little throwback to Spielberg.
Yeah, there's a video, and I think the actual pictures of this is taken from a Vimeo video that was found. I actually played it, and it's about 6 minutes long, and it goes through all eight episodes, and it actually shows shot by shot the scenes that were inspired by Steven Spielberg. And you can see those side by side play out. It is truly epic. We can't post it here or show it to you because of copyright infringement, but just do a search for it on Vimeo and Steven Spielberg, Stranger Things, side by side. You'll find it, okay? But yes, awesome stuff.
Was anybody else left hoping to see some sort of truffle shuffle go on during this series? Because I was really hoping for something to glimpse back to that, because those kids are just amazing.
I was waiting for some kind of fun, quirky moment like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Steve's great, but also Guillermo del Toro is also nodded too in this series. There's the Mexican filmmaker Guillermo del Toro. The most obvious being the monster itself, which has similarities to the Pale Man in Pan's Labyrinth. Luckily, Guillermo is a fan of the show, saying on Twitter, "Stranger Things may be a lot of things. King, Spielberg, 80s, myself," Duffers pointed that out to me. But what it is, above all, is good. So there's the word straight from the man. He also is a big fan of this series.
And Guillermo del Toro, if you've never seen his original Spanish version of Pan's Labyrinth, super creepy, super awesome, and really good. And it's amazing. It is really good. And on that influence, too, there was another major pop culture reference, too, if you missed it, was the film itself, Stand By Me. Now, when you think about we're going back to Stephen King, obviously. In one episode, 11 and the boys, they can be seen walking along a railway line. And on the way to try to find her missing friend, did you think it kind of looked familiar? Well, if you thought it was from the 1986 classic coming-of-age movie in which a group of young boys embarked on a track in search of a missing body or a missing child, Stand By Me. So it's also no coincidence that episode 4 of Stranger Things is titled The Body. All right, now if you don't know that, Stephen King's original novel is called The Body, in which Stand By Me was adapted from. Oh, snap. Which also happens to be the name of Stephen King's, yes, him again, short horror movie, Stand By Me. So there you go.
Nice.
Really awesome throwback. And it's really cool to see a lot of that come to play. And we'll talk more about the railways a little later on as we get into some of the final top 10 references as we unpack this later on.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Not only does episode 2 recall a classic 80s horror movie in its title, The Weirdo on Maple Street, but it also features a scene pretty much nicked straight from the 2010 remake where the Demogorgon stretches the wall of Will Byers' bedroom.
Oh, that was...
gave me chills when
Dude, that
happened.
was so creepy. Look at that.
So creepy.
Yeah. I always call it the rubber wall effect. You know, it's like this latex wall and somebody's behind it. It's just like... That was cool. And, I haven't seen that effect used since Nightmare on Elm Street in the 80s. So I think that was really a great nod.
Yes.
And they did it very well as well. So Firestarter, this 1984 film about a couple who participated in a potent medical experiment, gained telekinetic ability, and then have a child who is pyrokinetic, is a major influence of the character of 11. So this is very, and she's even in the picture. She's even got the things on her head. That's very interesting.
Yeah, and so there's Drew Barrymore side by side with Millie Brown. And
yeah, that's true. That was the first movie I thought of as soon as I saw her. I was like, oh yes, they totally referenced that. That's so awesome.
It is going to be awesome.
Cool.
Well, here's what we're going to do now for this next segment is we're actually going to talk about each episode briefly. And at the end of each, as we talk about each chapter of the episode, we're going to give you a little trivia tidbit, something you may or may not know. So if you're listening out there and you're watching this and you didn't make the connection the first time, maybe you hear the trivia and you can make the connection the second time. You go back and rewatch it before season 2 comes out. So chapter 1 is titled The Vanishing of Will Byers. And the synopsis is that Will is hunted by a strange entity, whereas his friends search for him only to find a lonely girl in the woods. Now, for me, that first episode was the make it or break it episode. And it literally filled in all the dots and connected all the pieces for me mentally and entertainment-wise. And the first episode of anything, you call it the pilot or whatever, and it just leaves you with that cliffhanger of a moment like, oh my God, who is this girl? Is she part of this Hawkins laboratory? What's going on here? We don't know what's going on. So it was really, for me, kind of awesome because where did he go? Is he kidnapped? Did the government spy guys take him? Or did this weird entity shapely figure that we haven't seen yet, is he a part of this? What was your all's take on it, Mike? What did you think about it?
I wasn't sure initially. It's kind of where he ended up. I really wasn't sure, and that's why I was kind of looking for more. Because usually the pilots is when, like you say, you get a feel for what the show's going to be, and I really wanted to know where he ended up. That's why I was kind of interested and definitely wanted to see more of it.
Awesome. Lindsay or Austin, what did you guys think about it?
I thought that the characters' personalities and stories were well enough described that you were automatically engaged with their interaction and their story. And then there was enough questions being left unanswered and enough mystery and curiosity to be able to want to continue to watch the rest of that series, really knowing nothing about it beforehand. There was no commercials on TV giving you spoilers or trailers or anything like that. It was just kind of like, here's a show, watch it. So you're basically 50-50 from starting at 0. And then at the end of it, I really was hooked into it. So they really did a great job capturing that attention and
that first
making
episode
craving
was
for more.
Crucial. It was crucial.
It definitely was.
Yeah. Awesome.
For sure. I'm going to echo. Yeah, I'm going to echo off Lindsay. Usually the pilot to a series, although it has to hook you in, usually it's the weaker of all the episodes, right? But this felt consistent to the other episodes. I'm really pleased. And that's actually not even my least favorite episode. It did that good of a job of hooking you in, letting you know who these characters were. And you even got some of the throwbacks and the references in the first 10 minutes of the episode.
Sure
so I think it did a wonderful job of hooking its audience.
And one of my favorite scenes from episode 1, and this is the thing that just imprinted on me, was them playing Dungeons and Dragons in the basement of their parents' house.
Yes.
How cool was that? I mean, that takes me back to the 80s, to when me and my friends would get home from school. We would do the same exact thing. We would play Dungeons and Dragons.
My husband still plays.
Oh Lord, have mercy. But it's a childlike innocence and a purity that just can't seem to be found. I don't want to say this in a negative way, but it's hard to find that in this day and age, where children today are just like, here's what you see today.
They're not interested in tabletop anything.
You see kids
on a computer, on a TV, on a device of some kind.
Yeah,
they
and
want
it's just like, there's
electronically
so
interacted.
much fun. And there's so much like joy that comes from interacting and being the spellcaster in Dungeons and Dragons and being able to act it out. And there's a certain passion in that sparks from a child's creativity and just kind of goes into, who he is as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's awesome. And for me, that was one of those big moments, because I remember me and my boys back in the day. I can say that now. Back in the day in Kentucky, coming home from school, it's like 6th grade, playing some Dungeons and Dragons. We had to stop because it was supper time. We had to pick up the next day. But
awesome.
Really, some good
I love how
memories.
he was like, I've been playing for 10 hours, and the mom's like, 10 hours.
To them, that's nothing, though.
Some campaigns would go like 12, 15 hours, but
it's true, yeah.
But so we're going to end this one with a little trivia note. There is a poster of the movie The Thing that can be seen in the room where the kids are playing the Dungeons and Dragons at the beginning, and we all know the John Carpenter's the magical The Thing, one of the greatest horror movies of our time. Definitely 1982 retro movie. Throwback, so this is congruent in the 80s timeline of things. So Mike, dive us into episode 2, man.
Chapter 2 is The Weirdo on Maple Street. Mike hides the mysterious girl in his house, and Joyce gets a strange phone call.
All right, so this is the episode, I believe, where we see the guy. So the girl at this point has made her way. Is she refresh my mind? Has she made it with the boys, or is she still at the diner with the guy? She stumbles upon the diner first, right?
She's at the diner, and then that's whenever the bad men show up and
the government, the feds, as we will call them.
Yeah.
So I was really sad to see the diner's owner, who seemed to be a really sweet dude.
He had such a good heart.
Yeah, and he seemed to really.
So bummed. I knew it was going to happen, but.
I was like, man, why did that have to happen? He's such a. They could have really elaborated him on a character, kind of a supporting role, if you will, and he just boom. I was like, dang.
I think if they would have kept him, though, it would have challenged the power of the role of the sheriff.
Yeah, that's true.
They still kind of have the same level there, which I really.
That's actually a really good point, because I mean, if he would have been another masculine figure, I don't think the sheriff would have been much of a leading role, because he would have had two dominant men, plus the federal white-haired dude running around in his white van trying to find Elle the whole time. So.
Yep. So he was the weakest link. He had to go.
Favorite moments from this was definitely the girl trying to steal the French fries in the back for me. Yeah, I remember that scene. He was like, "Hey," it's like, "What is that?" So I think that was a cool moment for me. But you guys got any thoughts on episode 2?
The phone call.
Yeah,
the phone call was freaky. That threw me off so much. I was like, "What is going on?" It locked me in from there on out. Like, I got to know who's on the phone. It was the kid. Oh.
It was the kid, but it also signified Joyce losing her dang mind.
Yeah, but did she lose her mind?
She didn't. She was actually the only sane person, but she had that motherly instinct, which
I was getting ready to say.
Instant panic mode, because she knew her kid was missing and he wasn't dead, and she just knew that he was alive, and she had to do whatever she did possible. Didn't matter whether she was absolutely insane or not. She had to do everything in her power to get to him. So, being a mom myself, I can totally relate to that. And I think that's another thing that kind of tied me in a little bit more than I was already locked in. I was like, let's go save your kid, lady.
and you're even more captured by Winona Ryder's role when she goes to the hardware store that she works at and asks for a store credit to buy a brand new telephone. You get a sense of reality there, and you connect with that in a way. And ultimately, we know the second phone fried again from another phone call. But it was just a really great. I think, honestly, hands down, this is Winona Ryder's rebirth into a new phase of her acting career. We've seen her for so many years, like in Beetlejuice and all that. But I think being now middle aged, and she's went through her own battles and struggles. We won't even get into that. But I think being on Stranger Things has given her a rebirth of sorts, and I think that is good for her. So
it's almost similar to the Robert Downey Jr. situation.
Exactly.
He had the problem years, and now he's found Iron Man and Sherlock Holmes, and this is the same for her. I think she had those troubles, and now this is, I guess her redemption.
That's a really good point. Yeah,
that's a great point.
Absolutely, great point. Good connection with RDJ too. That's pretty awesome. What's your trivia, Mike? What you got for us on the trivia note here?
When Jonathan visits his dad's house to see if Will's there, when he pulls up and gets out of the car, you can see the Terminus building in the background of the shot, as seen in Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 15, Us.
Look at that. There is Terminus. And you can see right beside the pole, you see the window panes where it had Terminus on it? Yes. Look at that. My goodness, that's right in downtown Catlanta. That's some crazy pants right there. That's just weird. So is Stranger Things part of the Walking Dead universe? Oh my God. No, we won't even get into that. Oh.
That'd be a whole new show.
Oh. Walking Stranger Things. Anyway.
Oh.
Awesome. Lead us in through three, man.
Let's move on to chapter 3, which is arguably, I'm so glad I got this, one of my favorite episodes. Holly Jolly. So the synopsis goes like this. An increasingly concerned Nancy looks for Barb and finds out what Jonathan's been up to. Joyce is convinced that Will is trying to talk to her. Mm-hmm. So this episode, and I'm going to go ahead and get this off right off the bat. The ending to this episode with the song, the We Can Be Heroes song, and that ending shot of them hugging each other with the police rolling up, it's the most captivated I have been in a long, long time, because they have discovered what they think. Will's dead. They think Will is dead. And that discovery, this song, everything, oh man, you can ask my girlfriend. I may have had a couple
an allergic reaction moment.
And
there's
allergies in the eyes.
And you know what, Austin, that cover by Peter Gabriel doing David Bowie's Heroes, I've heard that before, but that song in this context with that drama going on in the background, I remember me and Alex watching that, and I just looked over at her and she looked over at me, and we were just like, wow, that was really heavy. That was crazy, and it was a beautiful song. If you've never heard Heroes by Peter Gabriel, do yourself a favor, the best 99 cents you've ever found. Go to iTunes and download it right now, because it's awesome.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
And so this is too also where Joyce, is this where she starts playing with the Christmas lights and starts figuring out that the things are glowing in her? This is where she starts
playing with the lights.
Yeah, she's starting to see that things are like the lights are getting brighter and dimmer, and things are starting to happen. And I think it's in episode 4 when she really starts going crazy, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But I think that it was really interesting to see how Joyce's character, it seems like 1, 2, and 3 was really focused around Joyce and her evolving of the mother. Mm-hmm. And then of course when mid of the season we start getting more of the boys and the child story coming in. And then towards the end of it we get the heroic the sheriff reuniting the boys and the mother in the sequence, along with everybody else as players in the thing, the brothers and the sisters, and everybody's just united for this one cause and this one purpose. I think that's really cool, and this is kind of the start of that. So, really good episode for me. Austin, what's your trivia for this one?
All right, the trivia is the only episode of the first season to not have the title of the episode start with the word the. So you've got the body, you've got the flea and the acrobat. This one is Holly Jolly.
Holly Jolly. So yeah, get it, Holly Jolly Christmas, light bulbs, Christmas lights. Lindsay's wearing her Christmas
Oh
light.
my goodness.
She's trying to connect
put that together.
to Will
I
right
think
now.
there was even a Christmas sweater or two that I think we saw in there.
Yes.
I didn't put that together.
We need to do an ugly Christmas sweater show. Anyway, moving on.
December.
All right, Lindsay
All
Badger.
right. Chapter 4, The Body. Refusing to believe Will is dead, Joyce tries to connect with her son. The boys give Eleven a makeover. Jonathan and Nancy form an unlikely alliance.
All right, the makeover. Did you not feel a little bit like E.T. here at this moment?
It was totally
She put the wig and the dress on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to say, Elliot. You know, ouch. But it was such a throwback to Spielberg, and
Yes.
again another really weird Drew Barry tie-in with Firestarter and E.T. and all that stuff. But I just kind of felt like, oh my god, this is such an homage. You got this alien-like thing, and they just found out it has powers, and she's not happy with the way she looks, so she puts a wig on to try to be more like everybody else.
I'm pretty.
Yes. And I love the way that she just performed in this role. She was so believable. This actress, in my opinion, is going to go so far because she killed it as 11. She killed it.
Here's something you may not know about Millie Brown, and that's the actress that plays. She was actually cast here, and I think Mike was the one that originally told me this about the story, wasn't it, Mike? That when they cast her, they said that this girl had something that nobody could teach. She had some kind of ability inside of her that was just amazing.
Yeah,
and it can't be taught. You just either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
absolutely.
So, the body.
Are you guys ready for the trivia?
Bring it. Let's do it.
When the sheriff goes to the morgue to view Will's supposed body, he talks to the officer reading Cujo and says he spoke with O'Bannon. O'Bannon is likely a reference to Dan O'Bannon, screenwriter of Alien and director of Return of the Living Dead.
Shut the front door.
Wow.
What a great little sneak-in reference.
So
I
not
love
only
it.
are we getting zombies, but we're getting the king of horror himself, another Stephen King throwback to Cujo. Holy cow. That's so awesome.
That's amazing.
It's this world that's just constantly intertwining. Now, this is coming up on one of my personal favorite episodes as we're diving into Chapter 5. And I know we're going through these kind of quick, but we're just kind of giving you a little bit of our take and some discussion on some just brief points about our favorite moments from each episode. The Flea and the Acrobat. And Hopper, who is the sheriff, he breaks into the lab to find the truth about Will's death. So remember when they were pulling the body from the lagoon, and just the boys were crying, everybody was crying. Well, Hopper just couldn't buy into that. So he ended up going to the morgue, and he found that it was a fake cadaver filled with stuffing. It just had cotton in it, and it was just this, latex body. And so the boys try to locate, quote unquote, the gate that will take them to Will. And so at this point, Joyce is starting to be able to communicate with Will through the lights, through the interdimensional portal called the gate, whatever you want to call it. It hasn't even been given a name in this franchise so far. So there's a lot going on here, and I think Hopper breaking into the lab, I think that was a big moment for me. I'm like, oh my god, this is going to be...
that was like an awakening point for his character to really branch out and reach out and be more involved in the main storyline. He's more than just a side character once he reaches that and is like, this is kind of fishy, and he starts digging in a little bit deeper than just...
And he finds that there's a huge cover-up
going
on with this government laboratory in Hawkins, Indiana, which is where this is based. And mind you, this was filmed in Jackson, Georgia, and parts around. So if you're in and around the Walking Dead area, do yourself a favor, run by and give Mike Ippolito a nice cold Coca-Cola, and then go ahead and go out to the local cafe and enjoy some of the scenes around Jackson, Georgia. But it's really awesome, though. And so anybody else, Mike or Lindsay or Austin, you got any comments on Chapter 5, The Flea and the Acrobat?
I think that I like the analogy they use, because that's where they named it, the dimension, the Upside Down.
Yeah.
That's where this episode actually got that name.
Yeah.
And they draw it out, and there's an acrobat, and then there's a flea, and the flea can go underneath but not fall off, and that whole... Oh, that's what's, if you couldn't figure that out, that worked that out for you. So I thought that was important.
It's like a parallel doppelganger world. It kind of, if you think about Flash, it's almost like Earth 1 and Earth 2, but they're on the same. You think what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
well, and up to this point, I mean, you saw like little blips of the Upside Down, but you didn't see vast scenes of the Upside Down, so you didn't really know how big it was, if it was literally a carbon copy of the entire world. And that's where, once they actually get into the Upside Down, they realize that they can go to the same place, and it's going to be the same exact thing sitting there waiting for you.
But with just a bunch of weird stuff growing around it and weird orby light things flying around.
So that was crucial in this episode.
The trivia moment for this is when the boys and Elle are walking to try to find, quote unquote, the gate. They walk along railroad tracks in pairs in a scene that is, like we said, very reminiscent from the movie Stand By Me. Now, Stand By Me obviously was based on the body by Stephen King, but King is also a huge major influence, as we've already stated here in this. And here's a little tidbit for you. These tracks were filmed from season 4 and 5 of The Walking Dead in Terminus. Same tracks, same locations, just different angles and different shots. And different times of the year, because this is a fall scene.
Wow.
Yes. Mikey, lead us into Chapter 6.
Chapter 6, The Monster. Hopper and Joyce find the truth about the lab's experiments. After their fight, the boys look for missing 11.
Ooh, so yeah, 11 is gone. She's lost in the woods. She just kind of done her own thing. And is this the episode where is this the episode where she throws the boy into they're at the junkyard? Is this the one?
Yes.
Where she forces, she does the force thing and kind of upsets him a little bit, and he's like, "Man, why did you have to do that?" So
friends don't lie.
Friends don't lie.
Friends don't lie.
So this is the monster. This is the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first time we see the monster kind of
full on,
face to face, full on. Because for up until now, we've only seen like a side shot or just a shadowy shot, but now this one is kind of full blown. Okay, this is not just some kind of creepy walking looking dude.
Yeah,
this is a freaking.
Did anyone get like an Alien versus Little Shop of Horrors mashup whenever you first saw it?
Yeah, when it opens its thing.
I was like, oh, it's so creepy.
It was a little weird, and by this time, poor Joyce, as we see in the picture, she's painted the alphabet on her wall and is able to communicate with Will in the Upside Down, and just rational, normal human behavior.
Yes,
it's fine,
totally normal. Hack a hole through your wall. It's all good.
And of course the wall thing, The Shining, Jack Nicholson, a little bit.
With an axe, of course.
Here's Johnny. So, Mike, what's our trivia for Chapter 6?
When Hopper and Joyce go into Jane's room, there's a framed illustration of the White Rabbit from Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, a story that centers around the child falling through a portal into an alternate world full of strange and magical things.
Cool. Wow. And I can't say that this world is strange and magical. I can't really say that at all.
Man, look at that.
Look at that. You can see that. That's the actual rabbit.
Yep.
Man, that is so cool. Mike, you're rocking these images tonight, dude.
I'm trying.
All right, Austin.
He's multitasking.
Let's go into Chapter 7.
Guys, let's go into the bathtub.
It's my favorite.
I'll bring the bubbles.
The synopsis for this one. Ooh, bring the bubbles, baby. I'll bring the water. So the government comes searching for 11, and 11 looks for Will in the Upside Down. The coolest part about this episode to me was when she disappears, like she goes down in the bathtub, all the sound is disappearing. She's in this black space.
Yeah.
Just pitch black, just her by herself. So ominous, so creepy the way it was filmed. Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah, and we get a hint of that too when we have some of her flashback scenes with her and her papa, when her papa was using her to find the secret spy agents of Russia. Remember that? And she was able to locate and track him. Yeah, so that was definitely an interesting one, and I love how they did that because Elle's Upside Down is totally different than what the Upside Down really looks like. She's able to actually find the individual in the darkness.
Yes.
And
what a great power to have too.
Yeah, and it's reminiscent. I heard a quote one time, and this kind of leads into your trivia note, Austin. And I'm not going to take up too much more time.
Yeah.
But Vangelis quoted that he was asked one time, "How do you create all your amazing sounds?" And he said, "I am just an instrument in the body of white noise." And so Elle, and I just threw
That's
that.
incredible.
Isn't that a cool quote? So Elle is the instrument in the body of the white noise, and she's able to single it all out and find that one person. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So creepy.
Yeah.
And that does lead into the trivia for this episode. Fields of Coral by Blade Runner 1982, and also Chariots of Fire 1981. Film composer Vangelis, right,
Yes.
is used during the homemade sensory deprivation tank building montage. Guys, it just set the tone so well.
Epically done, dude.
Shots combined with the sound. Wonderful.
Why are you not letting us walk through this curiosity door?
Oh man,
That phone call was my favorite part of that
was
whole
great.
episode.
It was good, man. I'm telling you.
And I mean, seriously, you wanted to at least try to go make salt water and see if the egg floats on top, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 'Cause
Right?
I totally wanted to do that.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, Lindsay Badger, round us out with
All right,
chapter 8.
chapter 8, the final episode of season 1, The Upside Down. Joyce and Hopper are taken in for questioning. Nancy and Jonathan prepare to fight the monster and save Will. And my gosh, were they up for an epic fight.
Oh my gosh,
With
gasoline,
bear
traps,
traps, all of it. It was
baseball bat with nails drove through it. I mean, it was
okay. The look on that cashier's face was epic. Epic.
sporting goods guy. Yeah.
He was like,
What are you boys doing? Oh, we're just going hunting.
just hunting.
Just hunting.
He's like, all right.
Why not? Oh, okay. Back in the day.
Yes. So when they finally do get back to the house and get everything set up, which was fun watching him drive those gigantic nails into the bat and all that good stuff, it kind of really set up to how big of a scale this battle is really going to become. But you really hoped for it to happen, and then it was like, oh,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
damn.
You
didn't happen.
You didn't get that moment where you're just like, oh, I just wanted to see like a Negan
like-
moment from Walking Dead here, I'm just like,
Yeah. We were like, let's do this. We were all pumped and ready to go, and then it was like, oh, dang it. And then the ex-boyfriend shows up in his Christmas sweater, and we're like, really? Punch that dude in the face.
yeah. That Christmas sweater was on fleek though, wasn't it? That was pretty sweet. But I think it was pretty cool though. I think that all three of them, Jonathan, Nancy, and the boyfriend.
Yeah,
God
they
love his
didn't
heart.
disappoint though. They did follow through on an epic battle. So
They did,
I,
and they
I
did.
really, really appreciate it.
They did catch it on fire. It didn't even phase it.
No,
It was just manifesting and it just doing what it needed to do. So this episode kind of left us with more questions, even unanswered, than what we even think we know so far of season 1. Of course, we found out that Will is alive and Will was captured out of the Upside Down.
and they did
But-
bring him back.
But is Will
The scene of
okay?
them bringing Will back, with switching between Hopper's daughter and what they were doing with Will.
Oh my gosh, that was tearjerker
that was-
moment there.
Yes.
That was beautifully done, man.
Another
Hopper's-
thing that I was so happy that they did answer before the end of this episode was the gigantic looming question from the beginning, or about halfway through when Barb disappeared. They did confirm that Barb was in fact dead.
Yes.
Even though people
for
still
Barb.
refuse to believe it,
Barb
they
is
did in
dead.
fact show that Barb is dead.
Barb
I'm
is
sorry
dead.
for all
She
the
had-
Barb favorite people out
She
there.
looked like a zombie with a leech coming out of her mouth. So
Yeah, she had
She's
it.
sleeping,
it was pretty
guys.
gross. It was pretty nasty. What about Barb? Hashtag. What about
Yeah.
Barb?
What about Barb? We answered that hashtag pretty well.
So now here's where we're at. We're chapter 8, and we see Will has returned, and they're having a nice Christmas dinner. Everybody's joined around and happy and go lucky. And Will goes to the restroom, and he's got an upset stomach, and he can't eat very well, and he just regurgitates this slug-looking thing like some kind of seed organism that the Demogorgon. Oh. So
it's a baby Demogorgon.
It's a
that
baby.
didn't give you the EBGBs. There's
seriously.
something wrong with you because that was disgusting.
That was pretty gross. Yeah.
Here's my thoughts. You ready? They were using Will as a host for the child of the Demogorgon, and the thing that he spit out is what's going to grow into the next monster.
You think so?
That's my thoughts.
I'll write on that theory.
Yeah, that's a good
because what they pulled out of him could have been a feeding tube, just like
All right.
many
Alien.
Other
Yeah.
So before we jump into theories, let's wrap up with one last trivia, and then we can dive into some more fun things.
Okay.
One of the last scenes in the last episode is when Will wakes up in the hospital and the boys come running in. This certainly resembles the ending of The Lord of the Rings Return of the King, which was in 2003, when Frodo wakes up and his friends rush into the room. It's great.
Yes. That was
So.
definitely a nice homage to Tolkien. And obviously you can tell the Duffer Brothers had a vast array of curriculum when they were children. Everything from Dungeons and Dragons to Stephen King to J.R. Tolkien. So they were, I think they're in our age group. They're definitely part of, they capture it, they know it. And just kind of rounding this up, and we got 10 pop culture references that we're going to run through really quickly, and then we're going to complete and conclude our Stranger Things episode. Pop culture influences of Stranger Things have rippled through the internet world, and fans were delighted when both volumes of the show's beautifully crafted soundtrack was dropped earlier this week on Spotify for streaming.
So
oh my
good. Go
God,
listen.
it's so
Go
awesome.
listen.
Also, fans have been scouring the web to find the iconic font that was used in the show's main title graphics. Now, the font is actually called Binguiat, and it is named after its creator, Ed Binguiat. He's an 88-year-old, and he's an American, and he's an American typographer, and he's a lettering artist from New York City. And he has crafted over 600 typefaces, including Tiffany, Bookman, Panache, Souvenir, Edwardian Script, and his self-entitled Binguiat and Binguiat Gothic.
Wow.
The font is iconic by pop culture standards simply because of its variations that has been used on the many covers of Stephen King's graphic horror novels. And so, in other works also of the same genre, it's even the same font that was used in many of the Star Trek film franchise, even on television and in film, as well as famous rock album covers, including The Smiths' Strange Ways, Here We Come. And Ed Binguiat he created the font back in the 70s. He's still alive, still creating, doing what he does, and he's a typeface guy, and his legacy has lived on in his life.
Man, any typography geeks just had a big geek boner right there.
Definitely.
I know I did.
Yeah. So we're going to go through these really quick. We have 10 pop culture references, and then we're going to go through these. The first one is E.T. the Extraterrestrial, watching Bill Byers' friends riding their bikes frantically around town. It's nearly impossible to miss the visual parallels of the Oscar-winning blockbuster E.T. Interestingly, Stranger Things is set in the year after the film hit cinemas. So there you go.
Cool.
And Mike.
Alien, the 1979 Ridley Scott horror meets sci-fi flick, left audiences quirking in their seats, and there appears to be an allusion to its Stranger Things in reference to the symbiotic DNA of the monster.
Indeed. Yes.
E.T. to Alien.
I know.
Poltergeist. This spooky possession film gets a not, in the first episode of Stranger Things, when Will's mother, Joyce, played by Winona Ryder, can hear her son through the phone, like we were talking about, in the house, much like Carol Ann's character in Poltergeist.
Carol Ann.
That's where we've seen it.
Carol, going to the light, Carol. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lindsay Badger.
Don't forget about D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. The fantasy board game plays a big part in the show, and Will's friends are obsessed with it. The boys think that their friend is trapped in an alternate universe called the Upside Down Dimension, and use the Dungeons and Dragons rulebook to explain what it is.
Yes, and we have a name for it, the Demogorgon. And also Star Wars. You may not even think this, but hey, rethink it. The kids make a reference to George Lucas's space opera franchise when they compare fighting the strange creature with L to R2-D2 to fight Darth Vader. And
that was
it's
great.
Kind of like it's kind of like the little man going up against the big man, and it was really cool. So we need to see that moment. Awesome sauce. Mike.
Stephen King, the master of horror and the mind behind The Shining, Misery, and countless other scarefests, get a name check when one character asks Joyce whether she has read any Stephen King. It also serves as a vague reference to Carrie in relation to young girls developing supernatural powers.
Ooh, Carrie. It's kind of creepy.
Continuing to pop up.
Oh.
Yeah, very creepy.
Yes.
Moving on to Heart of Darkness, the Joseph Conrad novel, which was later transported into a Vietnam War setting for Apocalypse Now, great movie, gets quoted during an English lesson. Sean Connery. Crucially, Sean Connery. Crucially, the words "What is evil" have been written on the blackboard of the classroom, leading to some real foreshadowing.
Right. Oh, I remember that.
I remember reading that, and I was like, what is that there?
It's incredible.
Now, here's one you may not think about. Is this Lindsay Badger?
It's mine.
Yes.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. 11, or Millie Brown, watches the opening episode of the animated classic and hears the line, "I have the power," which clearly is symbolism in Stranger Things.
Truly, she had the power.
He surely did.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely.
So here's another one, Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash. Great song.
That
it was
song
included.
has been stuck in my head since I've watched this show.
I know, it's so great. The Clash is amazing. So the song from the group is heard in the show and reminds Jonathan, Charlie Heaton, about his missing brother, Will. Later on, Will is heard by his mother singing the chorus to the track as he remains trapped in the other world.
Should I stay or
Should I go
now?
Should I stay or should... Okay.
So good.
David Bowie, the poster for Jim Henson's iconic and epic fantasy, the film The Dark Crystal, is seen on Mike's wall. As many dedicated fans will know, the movie is often confused with Labyrinth, which featured David Bowie as the Goblin King.
That is true.
That
That does definitely get mixed up.
Yes, that is definitely a nice throwback. And Mike, you have done an astounding job on these pictures this week, man. And man, I don't know how to word. Yeah, he's nailing it. And so here's one thing, final thing for you. We talked about it earlier. Peter Gabriel's amazing cover of Heroes from David Bowie is towards the end of the third installment of Stranger Things. Oh my gosh. Just do yourself a favor after hearing this podcast, get on YouTube and listen to it. It's haunting. It'll give you chills, and it will lift your spirits all at the same time. And so I would definitely give Stranger Things an easy, strong 9 out of 10 if I was going to rate this. And I think, Austin, you even did the same rating, did you not, on your...
Same rating in my review I did on YouTube, 9 out of 10. So...
So that's pretty epic. Lindsay Badger, Mike, what is your final thoughts on rating?
I would have to go with a 9.5. I really haven't seen a series like this except for maybe like Breaking Bad that has really engaged me so heavily that I am still to this day craving more. And I've already watched this series through front to back 2 times, and I still want to go back and watch it a third time and maybe even a 4th time. It's on my top 10 movies or series, TV show of all time.
It's just that darn good.
It's so
And
good.
so, all right, guys, we are wrapping up our official Stranger Things. I know we went over a little bit, so it's a little bonus time for you, a little extra talk conversation, if you will. So, hey, if you're diving into Stranger Things, it's your first time or your fourth time or your eighth time watching it, whatever, if you want to get your geek on, we have a hotline. So if you guys are out there listening, it's 850-417-7679. And that is, of course, 850-417-POPX. Give us a call and let us know. Really?
Yes.
Seriously? Winona Ryder, the exploding
Bravo.
wall
So
phone.
suiting.
But give us a call.
So
Let us know
suiting.
what you think about Stranger Things, and we'll play your voicemail on next week's show.
Ooh, I like that. Also, we are part of an amazing network called the Gonna Geek Network. For all things even more geeky, head over to gonnageek.com and check out some other amazing podcasts on our home network.
All right, and follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Patreon, Twitter, Pinterest, all at PopXcast. Email us at popxcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from all of our amazing, faithful listeners. Also, for future or past shows, always check out our official website, the central hub for all things geeky and nerdy, popxcast.com. And so, Austin, how can people find you, my friend?
Well, I am at the Burkinator with a 3 instead of the E on the social medias, and I have a YouTube page, Austin Burke, where I do movie reviews and reactions.
Lindsay, how can they find you on the interwebs?
I am on all social media platforms at LR Badger.
LR Badger. And Mike?
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it's Dynamics1, and that's with the X at the end.
And I am Joe Burke, your lead host at Rockcav, ROTCAV, on the internet. And of course, hats off to this amazing team. I think this is one of the first episodes we've had the entire team PopX in the same window at the same time. This is
Do it again soon.
This is boom sauce right here, let me tell you. So hats off to Lindsay Badger for handing down the chat room and just doing all that she does throughout the week promoting. Mr. Mike Ippolito, thank you so much for the slides and the love. Yes. Oh, real. Oh. Can we just pause? Can we just pause for that for a moment?
Gene Wilder love right there.
I love you, Gene Wilder. God bless you, man. All right, guys, stay tuned next week for episode 32, where we'll be interviewing Steve Middleton, one of Austin Burke's friends, and he does a rural Appalachian media production company down in Kentucky. So we'll be talking to him and Austin Burke, and so we'll be diving into the world of small filmmaking. All right, so it'll be a really awesome little podcast. So from all of us here at PopXcast, thanks for listening, thanks for downloading, and you know what? We'll see you next week right here on PopXcast.
From everyone here at PopXcast, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe for more great content. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Lab, and YouTube, all at PopXcast. Get your geek on.